think anyone online right now, anyone just paying a little bit of attention knows when the United States says that they're going for democracy in a country and they need to do it through military means, people, I think, understand now that, yeah, that's not true. And we're getting closer to, of course, more saber rattling, more bigger conflicts between countries who are testing each other's hegemony on the world stage, predominantly Russia, China, and the United States. There's a bigger thing happening here that, of course, the mainstream media is going to tell you Trump is controlled by Russia. Trump and Putin are best friends and they're besties and they kiss each other. That's what the mainstream media is pretty much setting out there as their main idea. On the global world stage, things look completely different. And this has been exacerbated with, of course, the United States just a few moments ago getting out of the INF Treaty, a very important treaty that was set up during the Cold War that pretty much stopped the arms race, stopped countries from developing nuclear weapons. And many political analysts and many people who are looking at this closely say that this is kind of the revision of the Cold War becoming more of a reality. And what we have been seeing by the establishment and also the mainstream media is just more pushes towards these bigger conflicts, towards these more heated relationships. And it's more evident than ever, especially in the Senate, where the U.S. Senate just voted 68-23 to stop Donald Trump to even withdraw troops from Afghanistan and Syria. Now, it will be interesting to see how Donald Trump reacts to this, since Donald Trump, again, as we covered in previous videos on this channel, this is not just the pro or anti-war kind of stance here. This is a very complicated situation that we're dealing with here. I went into detail with that on the last geopolitical video on this channel. But with the Senate rebuking Trump on Syria and Afghanistan, Trump is still pushing forward with a bigger conflict with Iran and also specifically bigger tensions with Russia, which have been continuing and happening, to the madness and glee of the mainstream media that Jason has absolutely lost it. Look what Rachel Maddow has been saying on her broadcast during the supposed polar vortex that hit the Midwest. Do we have a clip of that, Jason? Can we show some of that?
Oh, we got a little clip. Here we go.
And it is like negative 50 degrees in the Dakotas right now. What would happen if Russia killed the power in Fargo today? Right? What would happen if all the natural gas lines that service Sioux Falls just poofed on the coldest day in recent memory, and it wasn't in our power whether or not to turn them back on? I mean, what would you do if you lost heat indefinitely as the act of a foreign power on the same day the temperature in your front yard matched the temperature in Antarctica? I mean, what would you and your family do?
Literally theorizing the possibility of Russia hacking us, using the polar vortex as an opportunity to scare people, to make people hate other people in a foreign country for a bigger political effect. Theorizing, of course, with just pure speculative behavior. This is not journalism. This is not what you're supposed to do when you're a journalist. Hyperbolically speculating that Russia's going to be giving us a technological attack to freeze people to death in the Midwest. This is fear-mongering 2.0 on just another ridiculous, insane level, which WikiLeaks called out and said, quote, U.S. largest audience TV host, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, Democratic Party aligned this evening, said Russia will freeze you and your family to death. And that's not a hyperbolic statement. And Rachel Maddow is actually defending this on Twitter. She's saying, you mad? ? And talking about intelligence agencies and their reports of a possible hack that Russia and China may commit, how our national grid is vulnerable. But again, this is the same information from the same intelligence agencies that told us that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and the same intelligence agencies that have been working with the mainstream media to sell that lie to the American people that has been sold successfully and has ruined over 1 million people's lives on this planet. So again, just another corporate, nasty military-industrial complex opportunity to proliferate bigger conflicts between people from opposite sides of the world for, of course, monetary and political gains. And this is only going to increase with, of course, what people are saying the start of the arms race, with, of course, Donald Trump and the U.S. administration getting rid of the INF treaty, which, of course, Russia responded saying that they would retaliate against for this pullout of this bigger treaty that has just happened. Again, this is why people are saying we are going back to the Cold War, and it does not surprise me, as, of course, we are seeing what looks like U.S. military helicopters literally head to the border of Venezuela right now. Again, this video hasn't been confirmed. This does look like U.S. military airplanes. We do know that John Bolton literally had a freaking notebook with 5,000 troops to Colombia on like showing it all to the mainstream media. We know Israel sent troops to Brazil. And if you've been watching this YouTube channel, when I was in Colombia just a few weeks ago, I reported to you that there has been big talks within the mainstream media there, within the government there, of Colombia and Brazil invading, of course, Venezuela and starting a bigger conflict there. As that is happening, of course, we have countries all around the world backing this. It's also important to note that some countries, of course, don't back this and back more dialogue. But we even saw in the United Kingdom with elected representatives meeting with Henry Kissinger, and then right afterwards calling for a coup d'etat in Venezuela. All of this is happening as, of course, Twitter, Facebook, and other social technocratic giants are squashing down and getting rid of voices from Venezuela who do not want this to happen, as the New York Times is running literal opinion pieces talking about how there needs to be a bribe of the Venezuelan military in order to overthrow Nicolas Maduro. Now, if you've been watching our video footage, if you've been watching my reports on the ground, I am definitely not a fan of Maduro. But realistically here, the bigger argument that has to be made here, what I have been seeing with U.S. sanctions, with U.S. tough talk against Maduro, that those actions have actually been having the opposite effect and have been empowering him. Now, what we also see here is also video coming out that hasn't been corroborated, hasn't been verified, because there's been a lot of fakes. There's been a lot of manipulation. There's been a lot of disinformation about this specific case. But there is videos allegedly showing riot police refusing to disperse the crowd, refusing top-down orders to get rid of a major protest that happened in the city of Barquisimeto. If this is confirmed, we will report it. I will report it on my Twitter account. Again, hasn't been confirmed, but this is a shift and is showing that the likelihood of a coup d'etat is very, very possible here. Will it be a military intervention? I would say the chances of that are about 30% roughly from everything that I've been studying and investigating. But we are seeing moves by Maduro, who is now proposing an early parliamentary election in Venezuela. And as we know, a big push against Maduro has been made when he's pretty much got rid of the National Assembly that was in their country that refused to act. This has led to a lot of criticism. This has led to the current situation. We now see Maduro backing down, making concessions to the protest groups. But will this be enough? I don't know. From what I'm seeing right now, 30% chance of a coup d'etat, just from my own analysis and my own studying of the situation, and from also the people that I talk to on the ground who are right now in Venezuela. Again, not a fan of Maduro, but trust me, with U.S. intervention, the situation is only going to get worse. It's already worse. It's already horrible. It was absolutely horrible to see what I saw on the ground in Venezuela. Maduro, horrible leader. But this definitely needs to be done by the will of the people, and no one else, to be done right and not to cause more pain and suffering.